The Mountain Refuge Chronicles. Episode 4. The Lonely Blacksmith and the Fire Spirit. Part 1. The Exile. Good evening, travelers. Welcome back to the warmth. The wind is sharp tonight, isn't it? The kind that cuts right through your layers and makes you grateful for walls and roofs and the promise of hot tea. Come closer to the hearth. Let the flames work their gentle magic on your cold-numbed fingers and your weary thoughts. Tonight's story is about fire. Not the comfortable kind that warms us now, but the wild kind that lives in forge and furnace. It's about a young woman named Kael who was cast out for daring to dream beyond her station, and how she learned that the hottest flames don't destroy, they transform. So settle in. Let the world fade to embers and shadow, and let's begin. The storm that brought Kael to Rowan's door was the kind that seemed to have personal malice in it. Sleet mixed with snow, driven horizontal by wind that howled like a living thing. It was the sort of weather that made you question every decision that had led you to be outside in it. Kael stumbled up the path to the cabin more by luck than navigation, her vision whited out by the storm, her hands so numb she could barely feel them. She'd been walking for hours or maybe days. She'd lost track, driven by nothing but stubborn refusal to lie down and die. She didn't see the cabin until she literally walked into its wall. The impact jarred her, snapped her out of the half-frozen fugue state she'd fallen into. She felt along the wall with clumsy hands until she found the door and pounded on it with what little strength she had left. The door opened so quickly she nearly fell inside. "Bloody hell," said a voice. Rowan's voice, though Kael didn't know that yet. "Get in here before you freeze solid." Strong hands pulled her inside, and warmth hit her like a physical force. Kael's legs gave out, and she would have collapsed if Rowan hadn't caught her. "Easy now. I've got you." Rowan guided her to the chair by the fire, and Kael sat heavily, her whole body shaking with violent shivers. "How long were you out there?" Kael tried to answer, but her jaw was locked shut from the cold. All that came out was a grinding sound that might have been words if her mouth was working properly. "Never mind. Don't talk yet." Rowan was already moving, pulling blankets from somewhere, wrapping them around Kael's shoulders. "Just breathe, slow and steady. Let your body remember how to work." Took time, painful time, as feeling returned to Kael's extremities in waves of pins and needles that made her gasp. But gradually, the shaking subsided, and her jaw unlocked enough to speak. "Thank you," she managed, her voice rough and cracking. "Don't thank me yet. You're not out of danger." Rowan knelt in front of her, studying her face with sharp eyes. "Let me see your hands." Kael extended her hands, and Rowan examined them carefully, checking her fingers one by one. They were red and swollen, but the skin wasn't blackened or dead-looking. "You're lucky. No frostbite, or at least nothing serious." "Your boots." Kael's feet were another story. When Rowan helped her remove her boots, cheap, poorly made things that had been soaked through hours ago, they found her toes were an alarming shade of white. "Right? Those need attention." Rowan disappeared into another room and returned with a basin of water and clean cloths. "This is going to hurt." They were right. As Rowan carefully warmed Kael's feet, the pain was excruciating. Kael bit down on her lip hard enough to draw blood, refusing to cry out, and Rowan worked with patient efficiency until color began returning to her toes. "There. You'll live." Rowan sat back, wiping their hands. "Now, what in the name of all that's sensible were you doing out in that storm?" Kael looked down at her hands, her strong, calloused hands that were scarred from years of working hot metal. Blacksmith's hands. Hands that had gotten her exiled. "Running away," she said quietly. "From what?" "From my village. From my family. From everything." She pulled the blankets tighter around herself. "I'm not welcome there anymore." Rowan was quiet for a moment, then stood and moved to the small kitchen area. "I'm going to make tea and something to eat. Then you're going to tell me the whole story, because I've got a feeling there's more to it than simple running away." As Rowan worked, Kael looked around the cabin properly for the first time. It was not what she'd expected. The walls were lined with shelves holding jars and bottles and bundles of herbs, yes, but there was also metalwork. Beautiful, intricate metalwork. Hinges on the door that were shaped like vines. Hooks holding pots that were forged to look like graceful birds. A fireplace grate that was a masterpiece of geometric design. Whoever lived here understood metal. Understood how to work it, shape it, make it sing. "You're a smith," she said, surprised. Rowan glanced up from the pot they were stirring. "I'm many things. Smith is one of them. Why are you?" "I was." Kael's voice went flat. "Not anymore. Can't stop being a smith. It's not something you do, it's something you are. Once metal gets in your blood, it stays there." Rowan ladled soup into a bowl. Something that smelled incredible, rich and meaty and seasoned with herbs Kael couldn't identify. "Now eat, then talk." Kael ate, and the warmth of the food spread through her chest, unknotting something tight that had been there for days. When she'd finished, she set the bowl aside and finally told her story. "I'm from Ironhold. It's a mining town 3 valleys over, built around the iron deposits in the hills. Most people there work the mines or the refineries. My father runs a smithy, has for 30 years. Makes tools, horseshoes, nails. Practical stuff, the kind that keeps a town running. And you learned from him. From the time I could hold a hammer. I loved it, the heat, the rhythm, the way raw metal could become something useful, something beautiful. My father taught me everything he knew, and I was good. Really good. Better than my brothers, though they'd never admit it." She smiled bitterly. "That should have been my first warning. That you were talented? That I was a woman who was talented. There's a difference." Kael's hands clenched into fists. "When I was 16, I asked my father if I could apprentice properly. Learn the advanced techniques, maybe eventually take over the smithy." He laughed. Said smithing was men's work, that I could help around the shop but I'd never be a real smith. That I should focus on finding a husband instead. Rowan made a disgusted sound but didn't interrupt. "So I taught myself. Stayed up late after everyone else went to bed. Practicing with scrap metal. Experimented with different techniques, different alloys. Taught myself decorative work, metalworking as art instead of just function. And I got good. Really good." "Let me guess," Rowan said dryly. "Someone noticed. The Merchants Guild noticed. They commissioned me. Anonymously, I had to pretend the orders were for my father, to make a set of ceremonial gates for their new hall. Wanted something impressive. Something that would show the town's prosperity. I spent 6 months on those gates. Wrought iron worked into patterns of mining tools and our veins and the mountains themselves. It was the best work I'd ever done." Kael's voice cracked slightly. The unveiling was supposed to be a big event. Everyone in town came, and when they pulled back the cloth and saw the gates, there was this moment of perfect silence. The kind where you can't tell if people are about to praise you or condemn you. Which was it? Neither. Or both. The gates were beautiful, everyone agreed on that. But then someone asked who made them, and my father, proud as anything, announced it was his work. His masterpiece. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. I was standing right there. I couldn't stay quiet. I told the truth. Said I'd made them, every inch, every weld, every decorative element. That my father hadn't touched them. How did that go over? About as well as you'd expect. My father called me a liar. Said I was trying to steal credit for his work. My brothers backed him up. The Merchants Guild was furious. They'd paid good money for what they thought was work by the town's master smith, and now there was this scandal. And the other smiths in town, the guild members. She shook her head. They closed ranks. Said women couldn't do that kind of work, that I must have had help, that I was delusional or attention-seeking or both. But the gates existed. They could see the quality. Didn't matter. Or maybe it did matter, but not in the way I hoped. They decided that if a woman could make something that good, then it threatened everything they believed about who could and couldn't be a smith. So they discredited me instead. Kael's voice went very quiet. The guild voted, decided I was guilty of fraud, of bringing shame to my father and the profession. They exiled me. Said I had 3 days to leave town and never come back. And your family? Didn't fight for me, didn't defend me. My father said I'd brought it on myself, that I should have known better than to reach above my station. My mother cried but didn't speak up. My brothers. She closed her eyes. My brothers told me I deserved it. Rowan was silent for a long moment. Then they stood, moved to one of the shelves, and pulled down a leather journal. They flipped through it until they found a particular page and handed it to Kael. Read that. Kael looked at the page. It was covered in neat handwriting, and at the top was a sketch of a gate. Not her gates, but similar in style and ambition. I made those 40 years ago, Rowan said, for a temple in the lowlands. Beautiful work, some of my best. And when the priests saw them, they accused me of witchcraft. Said no mortal hands could create something so perfect, that I must have made a deal with dark forces. They tried to burn me. What happened? I left, came up here, where people's prejudices can't reach me. And I kept making things because that's what smiths do. We make things. Rowan took the journal back. Your family and your guild are fools. But you're not. You know what you are, what you're capable of. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Kael stared at the fire, watching the flames dance. I don't know. I have nothing. No tools, no forge, no materials. And even if I did, who would buy from me? A woman smith with no guild backing. No reputation. You have your hands. You have your knowledge. You have your skill. That's more than nothing. Rowan stood. Get some rest. Tomorrow, if you're willing, I'll show you something. A way to reclaim what was taken from you. But you have to be willing to work for it, and it won't be easy. What kind of work? Rowan smiled, and there was something fierce in it. The kind that involves fire. #### part 2. The forge. Kael woke to the sound of hammering. She sat up in the loft, Rowan's sleeping space, given over to her for the night while Rowan apparently slept downstairs, and listened. The rhythmic clang of metal on metal was unmistakable, as familiar to her as her own heartbeat. Someone was working a forge. She climbed down the ladder quickly, ignoring her body's protests. Her feet were sore and her muscles ached, but she'd survived worse. She pulled on her still damp boots and coat and followed the sound. Behind the cabin, through a door she hadn't noticed the night before, was a workshop. It was small but perfectly organized. A forge dominated one wall, already lit and glowing with heat. An anvil sat nearby, worn smooth by years of use. Racks held hammers of every size and description, tongs, chisels, files. Bins contained scrap metal, ingots of iron and copper and bronze. Everything a smith could need. And at the anvil, working a piece of glowing metal with practiced efficiency, was Rowan. They looked up as Kael entered. Morning. Sleep well. You have a forge. Kael's voice came out slightly strangled. I'm a smith. Of course I have a forge. Rowan set down their hammer and used tongs to return the metal to the fire. Come look at this. Kael approached, drawn like a moth to flame. On the anvil was a partially completed piece. Looked like it would eventually be a door handle shaped like a coiled serpent. Beautiful work, she said automatically, studying the details. The scales were individually textured, the curves flowing and natural. The transition between the head and the handle is particularly clever. You've got a good eye. Rowan pulled the metal from the fire, now glowing orange-white, and began working it again. The hammer fell in steady rhythm, each strike deliberate and precise. When's the last time you worked metal? 4 days ago. Before. Kael's throat tightened. Before everything. Too long. Here. Rowan finished a series of strikes, returned the metal to the fire, and gestured to a second piece of raw iron sitting on the bench. Make something. Anything. Your choice. I don't have permission to. You're in my forge, and I'm giving you permission. Now stop arguing and make something before you forget how. It was meant as a joke, but Kael felt a spike of genuine fear. What if she had forgotten? What if the exile, the rejection, the trauma of the past few days had broken something inside her, stolen her ability the way it had stolen everything else? But Rowan was watching her with those sharp, knowing eyes, and she couldn't back down. Wouldn't. Kael selected a hammer. Not too heavy, not too light, with a handle worn smooth by countless hands, and approached the forge. She used tongs to place the iron in the flames and watched as it began to heat, changing from dull gray to red to orange. Her hands remembered what to do even if her mind was hesitant. She pulled the iron out at exactly the right temperature and moved to the anvil. The first strike of hammer on metal sent vibrations up her arm, familiar and right. She made a leaf. Nothing fancy, nothing ambitious. Just a simple iron leaf with veins and a stem, the kind of thing a first-year apprentice might make. But she poured everything into it. All her anger, all her hurt, all her defiance. When she finished and quenched it in the water barrel, steam hissing, she held up the leaf and examined it critically. It was good, simple but clean and well-made. The proportions were right, the details crisp, the overall form pleasing. "See," Rowan said quietly. Still a smith. Kael felt something tight in her chest loosen slightly. "One leaf doesn't make me a smith." "No, but it proves you still can be one." "That's a start." Rowan set aside their own work. "Now, I brought you out here for a reason. There's something I need to show you, something that might help you. But it requires trust and it requires an open mind. Can you manage that?" "I think so." "Good. Come with me." Rowan led her to the back of the forge, where the fire burned hottest. They made a gesture with their hands, complicated, deliberate, and spoke words in a language Kael didn't recognize. The fire responded. It grew brighter, hotter, the flames rising higher. But more than that, the flames began to move with intention. They swirled and coalesced, forming shapes. And within those shapes, Kael could see something that looked almost like, "Is that a person?" she whispered. "Not a person. A spirit. A fire elemental, to be specific." Rowan's voice was calm, matter-of-fact. "They live in flames the way fish live in water. Most people can't see them, can't interact with them. But smiths who know the old ways, who understand that fire is more than just heat and fuel, we can." The shape in the flames grew more distinct. It was roughly humanoid, but fluid, constantly shifting. Its eyes, if they were eyes, glowed white-hot, and when it moved, sparks trailed behind it like footsteps. "They can help you," Rowan continued. "Fire spirits understand metal on a level we never could. They can guide your work, show you techniques that have been lost for centuries. But you have to be willing to learn, and you have to approach them with respect." Kael stared at the spirit, her mind reeling. Magic. Real, actual magic. Not the vague stories people told in taverns, but genuine, undeniable magic. "Why are you showing me this?" she asked. "Because you need something more than just skill to overcome what was done to you. You need something those fools in Ironhold could never touch, could never steal. You need the kind of knowledge that comes from sources older and deeper than any guild or tradition." Rowan moved closer to the forge. "The fire spirits don't care if you're male or female. They don't care about guild politics or social hierarchies. They care about one thing. Can you work metal with passion, with respect, with understanding? And I think you can." The spirit in the flames seemed to be watching Kael, evaluating her. "What do I do?" Kael heard herself ask. "You make an offering. You show the spirit your work, your skill, your dedication. And if they judge you worthy, they'll teach you. It's not a guarantee. Fire spirits are temperamental, but it's a chance." Kael looked at the simple leaf she'd made, still clutched in her hand. It wasn't much. Wasn't impressive or innovative or particularly skillful. But it was honest. It was her. She approached the forge slowly, holding the leaf up so the spirit could see it. "I'm Kael," she said, feeling foolish but committed now. "I'm a smith, or I want to be. I was cast out for it, rejected and exiled. But I can't stop being what I am. Metal is in my blood. Fire is in my heart. If you can teach me, if you're willing, I'll learn. I'll work harder than I've ever worked. I'll respect the craft and honor the flame." The spirit flickered, and Kael could have sworn it was laughing. Not mockingly, more like recognition, like it understood exactly what she was feeling. Then it reached out, a tendril of flame extending from the main mass, and touched the leaf. The metal began to glow, not from heat but from something else, something internal. Patterns appeared on its surface, intricate and beautiful, flowing like water but permanent as stone. The leaf transformed before Kael's eyes from simple to extraordinary, from mundane to magical. When the glow faded, Kael was holding a masterwork. The leaf looked alive, like it might blow away in the next breeze despite being solid iron. "They accept you," Rowan said, and there was satisfaction in their voice. "They'll teach you, but be warned, fire spirits don't coddle. They'll push you, test you, demand excellence. This won't be easy." "I don't want easy," Kael said, staring at the transformed leaf. "I want to be so good that no one can deny it. So skilled that even those bastards in Ironhold would have to admit I'm a real smith. Then let's get to work." Part 3. The Soul Forge. The next weeks were the hardest and most rewarding of Kael's life. She worked from dawn until well past dark, her hands blistered and her muscles screaming, learning from both Rowan and the fire spirit. The spirit, she'd started thinking of it as Ember, though it had never given her a name, was a demanding teacher. It showed her how to read the metal, really read it, understanding its grain and composition at levels she'd never imagined. She learned to work with heat in ways that went beyond simple temperature control. Fire wasn't just a tool for making metal malleable, it was a partner, a collaborator. When she aligned her intentions with the flame's nature, when she respected its power while not fearing it, the metal responded differently, became more than just raw material. Rowan taught her other things: patience when she wanted to rush, precision when she got sloppy, the importance of understanding why techniques worked rather than just memorizing steps. "Anyone can follow instructions," Rowan said one evening as they worked side by side. "A real smith understands the principles underneath. That's what separates craftspeople from artists." Kael absorbed everything like a sponge, desperate to prove, to herself more than anyone, that she was worthy of this chance. She made hundreds of pieces. Some were failures, warped or cracked or simply ugly. Those went into the scrap bin to be melted down and reused. But others were good. Better than good. With Ember's guidance, she created metalwork that seemed to capture movement, emotion, life itself. A set of wind chimes that sang in harmonies impossible for simple tubes of metal. A knife whose blade seemed to flow like water while being harder than any steel. A sculpture of a bird in flight that looked like it might actually take wing at any moment. "You're learning fast," Rowan observed one day, examining the bird sculpture. "Faster than I expected." "I have to." Kael was working on her next piece, a commission from Rowan, a replacement grate for the cabin's fireplace. "I've lost time to make up for." "You can't rush mastery." "I'm not trying to rush. I'm trying to." She paused, hammer raised, searching for words. "I'm trying to become undeniable. So good that what I am doesn't matter. Only what I can do." Rowan was quiet for a moment. "You shouldn't have to prove yourself harder than any man would. That's not fair." "No, it's not. But it's reality." Kael brought the hammer down, the strike precise and controlled. "So I'll do what I have to do." 6 weeks after arriving at the cabin, Kael completed her masterwork. She'd been planning it for weeks, sketching and refining and perfecting the design in her mind. Now, finally, she was ready to execute it. The piece was ambitious. A mechanical automaton, a metal wolf that could actually move. Its joints would articulate. Its jaws would open and close, and most impressively, its eyes would glow with captured firelight. She worked for 3 days straight, barely stopping to eat or sleep. Rowan brought her food and water and didn't comment on her obsession. Ember stayed close, guiding the most delicate work, helping her infuse the metal with properties that went beyond physical structure. When she finally finished, exhausted and covered in soot and sweat, she stood back to look at her creation. The wolf sat on the workbench, every detail perfect. Individual hairs were etched into its coat. Its teeth were sharp and precise. Its joints were seamless, hidden but functional. And when she activated the mechanism she'd built into its chest, a clockwork heart powered by a fragment of fire crystal Rowan had given her, it came to life. The wolf stood, joints moving smoothly. It turned its head, surveying the workshop. Its eyes glowed orange gold, and when it opened its mouth, a small puff of steam emerged, almost like breath. It was beautiful. It was impossible. It was the best thing Kael had ever made. Good gods! Rowan breathed, approaching slowly. Kael, this is extraordinary. It's proof, Kael said, her voice hoarse. Proof that I'm a real smith. Proof that I deserved better than what they gave me. The wolf turned to look at her, and for a moment, Kael could have sworn she saw intelligence in those glowing eyes. Understanding. Ember flickered in the forge, and Kael sensed approval radiating from the spirit. Pride even. What will you do with it? Rowan asked. Kael had been thinking about that. I'm going back to Ironhold. I'm going to show them what I can do, and I'm going to demand they reinstate me to the guild. Give me back my name, my reputation, everything they took. And if they refuse, then I'll know I tried. I'll know I gave them every chance to do the right thing. Kael deactivated the wolf, and it settled back into stillness. But either way, I'm not hiding anymore. I'm not pretending I'm less than I am to make other people comfortable. Rowan nodded slowly. I think that's wise. Brave, certainly. Maybe a little foolish, but wise. Will you come with me? To Ironhold? No. That's your journey, your confrontation. You need to face them yourself. Rowan gripped her shoulder briefly. But I'll be here when you get back. Whether you're triumphant or defeated or somewhere in between, this place will be here. You'll always have a forge to work in, a roof over your head. You're not alone anymore, Kael. Something in Kael's chest cracked at those words. She'd been alone for so long. Even in Ironhold, even surrounded by family, she'd been fundamentally isolated. But here, with Rowan and Ember and this mountain refuge, she'd found something she didn't know she'd been missing. Home. Not a place, but a feeling. The sensation of being accepted for exactly who and what she was. Thank you, she said quietly, for everything. For saving my life, for teaching me, for believing in me when no one else did. You saved yourself. I just pointed you toward the tools. Rowan smiled. Now get some rest. Tomorrow you start your journey back, and you'll want to be sharp for it. That night, Kael slept deeply, the mechanical wolf sitting on the table beside her like a guardian. In her dreams, she saw fire not destructive, but creative. Flames that shaped and transformed, that took raw material and revealed the beauty hidden within. When she woke, she knew exactly what she needed to do. The journey back to Ironhold took 2 days. Kael walked with her head high, the mechanical wolf carefully packed in a case she'd made specifically for transport, along with several other pieces. The bird sculpture, the leaf Ember had transformed, the wind chimes. As she crested the final hill and saw her town spread out below, smoke rising from chimneys and forges, she felt no fear, no doubt, just calm certainty. She was a smith, the best damn smith Ironhold had ever seen, and she was going to make them acknowledge it. She walked straight to the guild hall, not bothering to stop at her family's home first. Word of her arrival would spread fast enough. The guild master, Master Torvin, a thick-shouldered man who'd known her since childhood, looked up from his desk as she entered. Kael. His voice was flat, unwelcoming. You were exiled. You have no business here. I have every business here. Kael set her case on his desk and opened it, revealing the mechanical wolf. I'm a smith, Master Torvin. A good one. Better than most of your guild members. And I'm here to prove it. She activated the wolf. It stood, joints articulating smoothly, and walked across the desk. Its movements were fluid, natural, more alive than any mechanical device had right to be. When it sat and looked at Master Torvin with those glowing eyes, she saw his expression change from dismissive to stunned. This is impossible, he breathed. No, it's craftsmanship. The kind your guild is supposed to value above all else. Kael pulled out the other pieces one by one, displaying them. I've spent the last 2 months studying with a master smith in the mountains, learning techniques you've never seen, creating work that honors the craft more than any horseshoe or nail ever could. And I'm done being ashamed of it. Master Torvin stared at the pieces, his face unreadable. Finally, where did you learn this? Really, no mountain hermit could teach this kind of work. Yes, they could. If you knew anything about real smithing instead of guild politics, you'd understand that mastery comes in many forms. Some of us learn from books and masters and apprenticeships. Others learn from fire itself. Kael met his eyes steadily. I'm not asking you to like me, Master Torvin. I'm not even asking you to apologize for exiling me. I'm demanding that you reinstate me to the guild, give me the credentials I've earned, and acknowledge publicly that I am a smith. A real one. And if I refuse, then I'll set up my own forge, take commissions from anyone who wants quality work instead of guild approval. And every piece I make, every client I serve, will be proof that your guild standards are bullshit, that you value conformity over excellence. She smiled, and there was fire in it. Your choice, master. But either way, I'm not going away. I'm not hiding. I'm a smith, and nothing you say or do will change that. Master Torvin looked at the mechanical wolf, still sitting on his desk, its eyes glowing steadily. Then, slowly, he began to smile. You've got fire in you, girl. I'll give you that. He stood, extending his hand. Welcome back to the guild, Smith Kael. Let's see what else you can make. And that, dear friends, is where our story finds its rest tonight. The tale of the lonely blacksmith who learned that the hottest fires don't destroy. They reveal what was always there, waiting to be tempered into strength. Sleep well, dream of flames and transformation, and remember, what you are can never be taken from you, only denied. And denial doesn't change truth. Until next time, good night.